I've written the story in a reusable document format. A place for failures. The CEO mocked Minus until the single dad turned it into her biggest rival. The day Daniel Harper lost his job, it was raining so hard that the city seemed to be mourning with him. He stood outside the towering glass headquarters of the company, where he had spent 12 years of his life, holding a cardboard box filled with personal belongings and a framed photo of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. The security guard avoided eye contact. Employees rushed past him under umbrellas. No one stopped. No one asked if he was okay. But what hurt Daniel most wasn't losing the job. It was knowing he would have to go home and explain it to Lily. Just moments earlier, inside a conference room overlooking the city skyline, the CEO had announced a restructuring plan. Hundreds of workers were being let go. Daniel was among them. As he walked out, he overheard something he would never forget. The CEO laughed while discussing an old, neglected branch office the company planned to abandon. She called it a waste of money, a dead-end location. Then she smiled and said something that made several executives laugh. It's basically a place for failures. Daniel didn't know it then, but those words would change his life forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and proving people wrong through hard work, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories, like this one, to life. Daniel drove home through the storm feeling defeated. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier after a long illness, leaving him to raise Lily alone. Every decision he made revolved around her. Every extra hour he worked was for her future. That evening, he sat at the kitchen table staring at unpaid bills while Lily colored pictures nearby. He tried to hide his worries, but children often see what adults try to conceal. Lily quietly walked over and placed a drawing in front of him. It showed the two of them standing beneath a bright sun. Above their heads, she had written 3 words, "We'll be okay." Daniel felt tears gathering in his eyes. For the first time that day, he smiled. Over the following weeks, he searched desperately for work. He attended interviews, sent applications, made phone calls. Nothing worked. The economy was struggling, and employers wanted younger candidates willing to accept lower salaries. Savings disappeared quickly. Bills piled up. Some nights Daniel skipped dinner so Lily could have enough. Yet, he never stopped trying. One afternoon, while browsing business listings, he stumbled across an announcement from his former company. The abandoned branch office was being sold. The very place the CEO had mocked. The place for failures. The property was old, neglected, and located in a forgotten industrial district. Most investors ignored it. Daniel should have ignored it too. But something about it kept pulling him back. Perhaps it was pride. Perhaps it was desperation. Or perhaps it was the feeling that everyone deserved one last chance. Including buildings, including people, using nearly every dollar he had left, and taking an enormous risk, Daniel purchased the property. His friends thought he was crazy. Former coworkers thought he had lost his mind. Even Daniel sometimes wondered if they were right. The building was in terrible condition. Broken windows, leaking ceilings, rust-covered equipment, dust everywhere. The first time Lily visited, she looked around silently. Daniel expected disappointment. Instead, she smiled. She said it looked like a castle waiting to be rebuilt. That simple comment gave him strength. Every day became a battle. Daniel cleaned floors, repaired walls, fixed electrical systems, painted rooms. He worked 18-hour days. Sometimes Lily sat nearby doing homework while her father repaired machinery. At night, they shared sandwiches and dreams. Money remained painfully tight. There were moments when Daniel stood alone inside the empty building and wondered whether he had made the worst mistake of his life. Then, he would remember Lily. He would remember her drawing. And he would keep going. Months passed, slowly. Something remarkable began happening. Former employees who had also been laid off started reaching out. They remembered Daniel as a kind manager who always treated people with respect. Many were struggling too. When they heard he was trying to build something new, They offered help. Some worked for reduced wages. Some volunteered their time. Others brought skills and ideas. Together they transformed the forgotten building into something unexpected. Instead of creating another cold corporate office, Daniel built a company centered on people. Employees received flexible schedules. Parents were allowed time with their children. Workers were encouraged to share ideas. Everyone's voice mattered. Word spread quickly. People who had felt invisible elsewhere suddenly found a place where they belonged. Customers noticed the difference. Busyness slowly increased, then increased again and again. Within 2 years, the company that began inside a mocked and abandoned building was thriving. Revenue grew steadily. New contracts arrived. Talented workers joined the team. The impossible dream was becoming reality. Meanwhile, Daniel's former employer faced challenges, leadership changes, employee dissatisfaction, declining morale. The same culture that once seemed untouchable was beginning to crack. The CEO remained confident. She dismissed reports about Daniel's growing company. She considered it insignificant, a temporary success. Nothing more, but numbers don't lie. Soon, Daniel's company started winning contracts that once belonged to her corporation. Clients preferred working with businesses that valued relationships instead of arrogance. The shift was gradual. Then, it became impossible to ignore. One morning, executives gathered around a conference table inside the company's headquarters. Charts and reports covered the screen. For the first time, Daniel's company was officially listed as a major competitor. The room fell silent. The CEO stared at the name, Daniel Harper. The same employee she barely remembered. The same man she had dismissed during layoffs. The same man. Connected to the branch office she had called a place for failures. Reality suddenly became uncomfortable. As years passed, the rivalry intensified. Daniel refused to focus on revenge. Instead, he focused on excellence. He invested in employees, expanded carefully, maintained the values that had built the company from the beginning. His competitors expected aggression. Instead, they encountered integrity. His clients expected promises. Instead, they received results. Success followed naturally. One winter evening, Daniel attended an industry awards ceremony. Leaders from major corporations filled the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers illuminated hundreds of guests. Among them sat the CEO. For the first time in years, their paths crossed. Daniel wasn't angry. Time had softened old wounds. Experience had taught him that bitterness only steals energy from the future. When his company was announced as Business of the Year, the audience erupted into applause. Daniel walked to the stage. He looked out at the crowd. Then he looked toward Lily, now a teenager, sitting proudly at a nearby table. The same little girl who once drew a picture, saying everything would be okay. The same child who believed in him when almost no one else did. Daniel accepted the award with trembling hands. His voice carried emotion as he spoke. He talked about resilience, about community, about second chances, about how success often grows from places others overlook. Many people in the audience wiped away tears. Even competitors applauded. The CEO sat silently, perhaps for the first time. She fully understood what had happened. The building, she dismissed, wasn't the secret. The market wasn't the secret. The timing wasn't the secret. The secret was people. Daniel had seen value where others saw failure, potential where others saw weakness, hope where others saw endings. A few months later, economic pressures forced several companies to downsize. One of them was the CEO's corporation. Hundreds of employees faced unemployment. The news spread quickly. Manny expected Daniel to celebrate. After all, fate had given him an opportunity for revenge. Instead, he did something no one expected. He opened his doors. He offered jobs. He welcomed talented workers regardless of where they came from. Many former employees of the rival corporation found new opportunities inside Daniel's growing company. The business world was shocked. Reporters asked why he would help people connected to a competitor. Daniel's answer was simple: because someone had once given him a chance. Because kindness creates stronger foundations than resentment. Because success means little if it only benefits yourself. That response spread across newspapers, social media, and business magazines. People admired not just what Daniel had built, but who he had become. Years later, the industrial district that once looked forgotten had transformed completely. New businesses opened, families moved into the area, jobs increased, the community flourished. At the center stood the building everyone once ignored. The place for failures. Except it wasn't a place for failures anymore. It had become a place for dreamers. A place for fighters. A place for people who refused to quit. One evening, Daniel stood outside watching the sunset, paint the sky orange and gold. Lily, now preparing for college, stood beside him. Employees laughed as they left work. Lights glowed warmly through the windows. Life filled every corner of the building. Daniel remembered the rainstorm years earlier, the cardboard box, the fear, the uncertainty. Back then, losing everything had felt like the end. Now he understood it had been the beginning. Sometimes the door that closes behind us is simply guiding us toward the one we're meant to open ourselves. And sometimes the places the world labels as failures become the very places where miracles begin. Before we reach the ending, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "Second chances change lives." We'd love to see how many people believe in hope, resilience, and never giving up. As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, Daniel felt a deep sense of gratitude. Not for the money, not for the awards, not even for the success, but for every struggle that forced him to grow, every obstacle that tested his faith, every moment when quitting seemed easier than continuing, because without those moments, he never would have discovered how strong he truly was. And if this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you never to give up on yourself or someone else, please like the video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more people who may need hope today. Because the greatest victories often begin where everyone else sees defeat. And sometimes, the people written off as failures end up changing the world.